What turns a privileged son from a patriotic family into one of the most infamous spies of the Cold War? This is the story of Christopher Boyce, a young man with a top-secret clearance and a growing disgust for his own government. Given access to America's most sensitive satellite secrets, he made a choice that would shatter his life and compromise national security. He decided to sell those secrets to the Soviet Union. His dramatic tale of disillusionment, betrayal, and espionage would become a legend. Stay with us as we unravel this incredible true story, and be sure to subscribe for more deep dives into history's most fascinating characters. Christopher Boyce grew up under the warm, hazy skies of Southern California, a world away from the cold shadows of international intrigue. His was a life of privilege and promise, the son of a man who had once served in the FBI and now held a senior security position in the aerospace industry. From the outside, the Boyce family was a picture of the American dream living comfortably in Palos Verdes, a community of manicured lawns and ocean views. But young Chris found his truest sense of self not in the neat suburban landscape, but in the ancient and noble art of falconry. High on the cliffs overlooking the Pacific, he would fly his hawks, feeling a profound connection to the fierce predators. He felt he understood them. They were creatures of elegant discipline and lethal focus, symbols of a freedom and wildness that felt increasingly absent in his own life. This passion earned him a nickname that would later become infamous: the Falcon. He was the quiet one, the observer, the boy who preferred the company of a bird of prey to the easy chatter of his peers. As Boyce moved into his late teens and early 20s, the world outside his privileged bubble began to fracture. The late 1960s and early 1970s were a time of tremendous social upheaval. The Vietnam War raged on television screens, bringing a distant and brutal conflict into American living rooms. Then came the Watergate scandal, a slow-motion collapse of trust in the highest office of the land. For a generation of young Americans, these events corroded the bedrock of patriotism. Chris Boyce, who had been raised in a deeply conservative and patriotic household, felt the disillusionment keenly. He enrolled in college but drifted without purpose, questioning the values he had been taught to revere. He saw hypocrisy everywhere, a deep chasm between the ideals America preached and the actions it practiced. He felt alienated and aimless, a quiet dissenter in a world he no longer understood. His father, seeing his son's lack of direction, grew concerned. He decided to intervene, using his considerable influence in the aerospace world to secure Chris a job. In the summer of 1974, Christopher Boyce, the disillusioned college dropout, found himself employed by TRW, one of the nation's leading defense contractors. It was a place at the very heart of the American military-industrial complex, a nexus of technology and secrecy that developed cutting-edge systems for the nation's intelligence agencies. By a twist of fate, Boyce, with his impeccable family background, sailed through the security clearance process. He was granted a top-secret clearance and assigned to one of the most sensitive locations in the entire company, the Black Vault. The Black Vault was a place straight out of a spy novel. It was a windowless, soundproofed room deep within the TRW campus, a hub that handled encrypted communications for the Central Intelligence Agency. Here, messages from the nation's most sophisticated spy satellites were received, decoded, and routed. The security was absolute. For a young man like Boyce, stepping into the vault was like stepping into another reality, a silent, climate-controlled world of whirring machines and secret knowledge. His job at first was mundane. He was a clerk tasked with handling the flow of classified materials. He was a small, trusted cog in a vast and clandestine machine. But he was also a reader, and he was an observer. And what he began to observe in the endless stream of secret cables passing through his hands would transform his quiet disillusionment into a burning rage. He started to see things that shocked him. communications that had nothing to do with defending the United States from its enemies. He read cables that showed the CIA was actively working to deceive its allies. The final, unforgivable straw came when he discovered a series of messages detailing a covert CIA campaign to interfere in the internal politics of Australia. The agency, he learned, was working to destabilize the government of Prime Minister Gough Whitlam, a democratically elected leader whose policies were not in line with American interests. For Boyce, this was the ultimate betrayal. This was not the Cold War he had been taught about. This was not a noble struggle for freedom. This was the sordid business of a superpower bullying its own friends, meddling in their sovereign affairs to protect its own selfish interests. The hypocrisy he had sensed in the world was now laid bare before him in top-secret print. A cold fury took root in his soul. He felt a desperate need to do something to strike back at the system he now saw as corrupt and duplicitous. He was in a unique position of power, a gatekeeper of secrets. The idea began to form a radical and dangerous plan. If the American government was going to operate in the shadows, he would drag its secrets into the light. And the most damaging way to do that, he reasoned, was to give them to the enemy. He would sell the nation's most valuable intelligence to the Soviet Union. He knew he couldn't do it alone. He needed a partner, a courier, someone comfortable operating in the criminal underworld. He needed someone who wouldn't ask too many questions. He thought of his childhood friend, Andrew Dalton Lee. Lee was everything. Boyce was not, loud impulsive, a small-time cocaine and heroin dealer always chasing the next big score. Lee, nicknamed the Snowman for his trade, lived a life of excess and risk. Boyce, the Falcon, the quiet idealist, reached out to Lee, the Snowman, the streetwise hustler. He presented the plan not as an act of treason, but as a chance to get rich and strike a blow against the establishment. For Lee, it was the score of a lifetime. For Boyce, it was an act of righteous vengeance. The pact was sealed. The two friends from sunny California, one driven by ideology and the other by greed, were about to step over a line into the dark world of espionage. With the pact sealed, the operation began transforming the sterile, quiet confines of the Black Vault into a theater of treason. Christopher Boyce was no longer just a disillusioned clerk. He was an active spy moving with a newfound, albeit terrifying, sense of purpose. Each day at TRW became a high-stakes performance. He walked past security guards who greeted him by name, his calm exterior a carefully constructed mask hiding the adrenaline coursing through him. He would identify key documents, often detailed schematics, and operational plans for the top-secret Pyramid satellite program. This was America's eye and ear in the sky, a technological marvel capable of intercepting Soviet communications and tracking their most vital military assets. Using a tiny Minox camera, a classic tool of the spy trade, he would photograph the blueprints. Other times, exploiting the shockingly lax security that relied more on trust than on physical checks, he would simply fold sensitive documents and slip them into his pockets, walking out of the most secure facility on the West Coast with state secrets tucked away like a grocery list. His partner, Andrew Dalton Lee, embarked on the second phase of their plan. He took the stolen information south to the sprawling, chaotic expanse of Mexico City. Lee the Snowman was a jarring presence in the grim world of espionage. He was not a disciplined operative, but a flashy drug dealer arriving for his clandestine meetings with KGB handlers at the Soviet embassy dressed in expensive clothes, his confidence fueled by cocaine. The embassy itself was a forbidding structure, an island of Soviet power in a foreign land. Inside, Lee nervously presented his offerings, the product of Boyce's betrayal. The initial exchanges were tense. The Soviets were skeptical of this flamboyant American amateur, but the quality of the intelligence he brought was undeniable. They paid him in cash stacks of American dollars that felt heavy with the weight of their treason. Lee would return to California with the money, and the cycle would begin again. For over a year, this strange partnership flourished. The Falcon, hidden in his perch within the Black Vault, continued to pass along a steady stream of priceless information. He provided the Soviets with a comprehensive understanding of America's satellite reconnaissance capabilities, effectively blinding the CIA's most powerful intelligence tool. The flow of cash turned into a torrent, tens of thousands of dollars that Lee began to spend with reckless abandon. He bought luxury cars and lavished money on his friends, his sudden wealth, drawing the kind of attention that spies are trained to avoid at all costs. Boyce, back in California, grew increasingly agitated. His idealistic, if misguided crusade was being bankrolled by what he saw as Lee's vulgar greed. He watched his partner's spiraling drug use and reckless behavior with contempt and fear, realizing that the entire operation was balanced on the unsteady shoulders of an unreliable hedonist. The tension between the two friends simmered. Boyce wanted to stop feeling he had made his point, but Lee was hooked on the money, and the thrill constantly pushing for one more score. The inevitable end came not from a brilliant piece of counterintelligence work by the CIA or the FBI, but from a moment of pure, pathetic carelessness. In January 1977, Lee made another trip to Mexico City. He was paranoid, his judgment clouded by drugs and fear. Arriving at the Soviet embassy, he found the gates closed. Instead of leaving discreetly, he panicked. In a desperate act, he tried to toss a note containing classified information over the fortified walls. This clumsy, conspicuous behavior immediately attracted the attention of the local police who were guarding the embassy. They saw the suspicious American, watched his frantic attempt, and moved in to arrest him. In the custody of the Mexican police, away from the glitz and bravado of his life in California, Andrew Dalton Lee's tough guy persona shattered. He was terrified, a small-time criminal completely out of his depth. During a harsh interrogation, the police discovered microfilm containing classified documents. Under pressure, Lee broke completely. He confessed to everything, laying out the entire espionage operation. And to save himself, he gave up the name of his partner, the architect of the scheme, Christopher Boyce. The message was relayed to American authorities, and the FBI was alerted. The Falcon's secret was out. Back in California, Boyce was unaware that his world was about to collapse. The FBI moved swiftly and quietly. They apprehended him not in a dramatic shootout, but with the quiet finality of justice catching up. The chase was over. The subsequent trial was a media sensation, a story that seemed torn from a Hollywood script. The tale of two privileged young men from Southern California, the Falcon, and the snowman who had betrayed their country, captivated the nation. The evidence against them was overwhelming, built upon Lee's detailed confession and the mountain of secrets they had sold. The courtroom proceedings stripped away any romantic notions of their actions, revealing a sordid tale of misguided anger, greed, and stunning naivete. In 1977, the gavel came down. Christopher Boyce, the quiet falconer who had tried to wage a one-man war against his own government, was found guilty of espionage. The judge sentenced him to 40 long years in a federal penitentiary. As he was led away, the weight of his actions finally became real. His flight was over, and a cage of concrete and steel awaited him. The 40-year sentence landed like a physical blow, transforming Christopher Boyce from a convicted spy into federal prisoner number 10356-115. The abstract ideals that fueled his treason dissolved against the harsh, grinding reality of life inside the federal prison at Lompoc, California. This was not a battlefield of ideologies. It was a concrete world of violent men, rigid routines, and soul-crushing monotony. Boyce, the intellectual and the falconer, was an alien in this environment. He was surrounded by a level of brutality he had never imagined, a daily struggle for survival that had nothing to do with geopolitics. The experience did not break him, however. Instead, it hardened his resolve. The same defiant spirit that had led him to the Black Vault now focused on a single, all-consuming objective: escape. A falconer could not live in a cage, and Boyce began to meticulously study his new prison, searching for a weakness. He became a model prisoner on the surface, his quiet demeanor masking a mind that was constantly plotting. He observed the guards' patterns, the prison's blind spots, and the rhythms of the institution. He learned that he could access a drainage ditch and, with a makeshift ladder, potentially scale a perimeter fence under the cover of darkness. For months, he gathered materials and refined his plan with the patience of a predator stalking its prey. On the night of January 21, 1980, less than 3 years into his sentence, he made his move. He slipped away from his post, crawled into the dark, damp ditch, and used his crudely fashioned ladder to go over the wall. He vanished into the night, leaving the federal prison system stunned. The Falcon was flying free once again, instantly becoming one of the most wanted fugitives in America. Freedom, however, was not a return to a normal life. It was a paranoid existence on the run. As a notorious escaped spy, his face was known to law enforcement across the country. He needed a new identity, a new life, and most urgently, he needed money to survive. This desperation led him to a new criminal enterprise. The man who had sold secrets to the KGB became a bank robber. For the next 19 months, Boyce lived as a ghost, moving through the rugged landscapes of the Pacific Northwest. He adopted aliases and robbed a string of banks in Idaho, Montana, and Washington. It was a solitary, nerve-wracking existence, a life lived constantly looking over his shoulder. He even began taking aviation lessons, dreaming of a final escape by air, perhaps a flight to the Soviet Union, the country he had once served. But his time was running out. The net that had been closing around him for months finally tightened on August 21, 1981. U.S. Marshals tracked him to Port Angeles, Washington, a small town on the coast. They found him not in a tense standoff, but sitting down for a meal at a local drive-in restaurant. His life as a fugitive ended quietly with the click of handcuffs. The consequences for his flight were severe. A judge added another 28 years to his sentence for the escape and the bank robberies. This time, the Bureau of Prisons would take no chances. Boyce was sent deeper into the system to more secure and unforgiving institutions. His journey would eventually lead him to the harshest penitentiary in the country, the Supermax facility known as ADX Florence in Colorado. This was a prison designed to hold the nation's most dangerous inmates in near-total isolation, a modern-day dungeon engineered to crush the human spirit. For decades, Boyce endured. He read, he wrote, and he survived the long, slow passage of time while the world outside changed beyond recognition. The Cold War ended. The Berlin Wall fell. The Soviet Union, the recipient of his secrets, ceased to exist. His partner in crime, Andrew Dalton Lee, was paroled in 1998, leaving Boyce to serve his time alone. His youthful act of defiance had become a relic of a bygone era. Finally, after more than 25 years behind bars, the system decided he was no longer a threat. On March 15, 2002, a graying Christopher Boyce walked out of prison on parole. He stepped into a world he barely recognized, a free man at last. He sought a life far from the spotlight, reconnecting with a woman who had fought for his case and eventually marrying her. He returned to the one true passion that had defined him before it all went wrong: falconry. The man who had spent decades in a cage was finally able to fly his hawks under an open sky, a quiet older man trying to reclaim a piece of the life he had thrown away so long ago. From a top-secret vault to a federal prison cell, and from a daring escape robbing banks to a man finally granted parole, Christopher Boyce's life is a staggering chronicle of consequence. The world he tried to defy has vanished, but his story remains a powerful cautionary tale about ideology, betrayal, and the immense price of a youthful rebellion. His flight as the Falcon cost him decades of his life, leaving him to find a quiet peace in a world that had long since moved on. If you found this story compelling, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more true stories of spies and secrets.